Welcome to the Anxiety Connection. If you've ever struggled with anxiety and are ready to finally get some answers, you've come to the right place. Hi, my name is Wendy Leeds, and I've suffered with anxiety my entire life. Thankfully, I'm also a psychotherapist, and over the years, I've learned a lot about anxiety, where it comes from, and how to manage it. That's what this podcast is all about. So, let's grab a cup of tea and talk about it. Take a minute and look around you. Are you surrounded by clutter? Are you overwhelmed by stuff? Now, I'm not just talking about physical clutter. I'm also talking about digital clutter. You know, all those games, the old emails, the files you've been promising to get rid of, but never do. I'm talking about mental clutter, that to-do list in your head that keeps you awake at night. And finally, I am talking about emotional clutter, the anger you can't let go of, that thing you still can't forgive. All of that is clutter, and it can make you feel like you're suffocating under the weight of it. Today, I'm talking about stuff, why we hold on to the stuff, how and why it makes us anxious, and finally, how we can get rid of some of this once and for all. So, if you're anxious like me and you're holding on to too much stuff and you're ready to find some ways to deal with it, stick around because believe me, I am an expert in clutter. I grew up surrounded by clutter. My mother was also a world-class expert at saving things we might need someday. Our closets were filled with clothes, some of which we wore, but most of which we didn't. They didn't fit. They had broken zippers, hanging hems, or they were buried so far back in the closet we didn't even ever see them. The attic and basement were filled, just overflowing with fondue sets, several, coffee makers without plugs or without tops, mismatched or chipped plates, all of this stuff my mother was saving just in case. The house was filled with all sorts of bric-a-brac. I don't even know how else to say it. And things she would say were going to be worth something someday as she added them to the pile of stuff. My mom was all about saving things for the future. What might happen? Gee, this could be valuable. Which is also why there was a plastic cover over the living room sofa that we only took off for company, and I don't think we were alone in that. But what was really terrifying in the house where I grew up was the plastic covering my mom put over the wall-to-wall carpeting up and down the stairs. It was this thick sheet of plastic that wasn't really nailed down. It was just heavy. And sometimes if you were going up and down the stairs in a hurry, the plastic would slide under your feet and you'd have to grab the banister to keep from falling down the stairs. Although I can't remember that anyone ever did, but anyway. And I have to admit, give my mom her due, that plastic sheet protected the most ugly green shag rug for decades. And, you know, sometimes I think, boy, I bet that, and this was decades ago, I bet that ugly green carpet is probably alive and well somewhere in the world. Boy, it was ugly. Anyway, looking back, I now realize all my mom's stuff made her feel safe and less anxious about what lay ahead. She could tell herself, no matter what happens, I have 3 bundt pans, 4 electric frying pans, and a cookie jar with a broken lid. And that will keep me and my family safe, no matter what happens. That clutter made her feel safe. And I get it because I have to admit, this apple didn't fall too far from that tree. My mom and I've shared this, both suffer from anxiety. We both worry about the future, and it makes sense that we would do anything we could do to try and control what was going to happen. And let me say it again. That clutter made us feel safe. Over the years, I've learned to deal with my anxiety without the need for the clutter. But I do have to admit that I still love buying things in bulk when they're on sale. And I love the feeling of having some extra cans of food on the shelves and extra toilet paper packed away just in case. And I'm laughing because as we go through this pandemic, and as we suffered that terrible shortage of toilet paper, I have to admit, I was really glad to have some extra toilet paper on hand. And sadly, we lost my mom just before the beginning of the pandemic. I don't know whether to laugh or cry because we were so excited and thrilled beyond measure to find among her many things an entire box of face masks and 2 bottles of hand sanitizer. I cannot tell you how excited we were. And of all the things she left us, I think those were the most appreciated in the moment. And I think that's a great reminder for me and for you that keeping things isn't a bad thing. It's important to keep things. We're not talking about throwing out everything. It's not a scorched earth. This is about getting rid of the stuff, the things we no longer need or use. And then it's about opening the door to the freedom of choosing what you get to keep in your life and what you let go. It's about that choice. And we're talking about deliberately creating a life for you with flow and energy and space and peace. Of course, there are things we need to hold on. Keep that toilet paper. But we don't need to hold on to everything. And I believe today, in this moment, it's time to get rid of the clutter. So let's start by talking a little bit about what I mean when I say clutter. Everybody's got sort of a different thought about it. My definition is really simple. Clutter is anything you're keeping that isn't useful. And as I said, that means anything, in your physical environment, in your digital environment, and your thoughts, your mental clutter, and the deepest and most profound of all is that emotional clutter, the stuff you're still holding on to that doesn't serve you. So we already know that mental and emotional clutter can make us anxious. We know. But how does physical clutter make us anxious? Let me talk a little bit about that. Start with our brains. Your magnificent brain loves order and organization. When you think about how our bodies work, and you think about the rhythmic order of your heart beating and the rhythmic order of your breathing, now think a little bit about the organized way all of your operating systems communicate with each other and work together. Your heart, your lungs, your circulation, your digestion. Think about all of that wonderful order of your body. Now imagine that sense of order extending out into the world around you. That sense of order is what your brain craves and what your brain thrives on. Our brains love order. Not only that, our brains, your brain, all of our brains have a limited capacity to process information. It gets distracted by that pile of magazines on your ironing board. I know, me too. The thousands of files on your computer at work and all those things on your to-do list you still haven't gotten to today. Yikes. So when your brain is distracted, it can't focus on what's really important. And I'm going to give you an example out of my own life, which just makes me laugh because I'm living this. You know, when you sit down to do your taxes or write a report for work or write a podcast, and suddenly you feel that urge to get up and clean out a closet or a drawer, there's a reason for that. Your brain is saying to you, please, get up, go clear the deck. I'm thinking about something else. Get organized, and then you'll be able to focus more effectively. Well, as I sat down to plan out this podcast, I started thinking about my own closets, and I felt absolutely compelled to get up and go clean them out. I had spent an entire day cleaning and organizing before I was finally able to sit down and do any serious work. And you know, what we sometimes label procrastination, we wander around and we're not getting down to the serious work, may actually be a way of our brain saying to us, hey, could you help me a little, get clean up? And then I'll be able to help you focus. So our brains crave order. Now, we all know that clutter weighs us down. It wastes our time and our energy. It causes us worry and guilt and shame. It's shameful to, have this clutter. So why do we hold on to this stuff? Let's talk. Different reasons. Listen to see if you hear what might be the reason you're holding on. In my mom's case and mine, and maybe yours, we're holding on to things because it makes us feel safe. It gives us some sense of control of what might happen to us in the future. But maybe you're holding on to stuff from your past, the stuff that brings back memories and experiences. These are things you have a real relationship with. The old photo albums, the souvenir books from your trips, your father's necktie, your children's, old toys, stuff that keeps you connected to your past and those memories alive. And if you let go of some of these, it might feel like you're letting go of the past. Maybe you're afraid that all the good times in your life are behind you and there's nothing ahead for you but a sense of sorrow or suffering. And maybe clinging to the past with these beautiful things from the past allows you to feel safe and not have to think about the future. Just maybe. Maybe you're not clearing out the clutter because you just don't have time to deal with it. You're just too busy. Again, it's fear about the future. If you don't get all these important things done today, maybe you won't be all right tomorrow. Maybe you don't want to get rid of things because you invested money in these things, and heaven forbid, you don't want to waste that investment. Maybe if you're thinking about letting those things go, you're worried you're not going to have enough for the future. So, do you hear some themes? No matter what you've been telling yourself about money, your time, or past, or the future, or the bottom line, we're holding on to this stuff because we're afraid. And that fear, that anxiety comes from one single belief. Are you ready? You don't believe in you. You don't trust yourself to take care of you or to handle whatever awaits you in the future. But I see this differently because I believe in you. I believe you can trust yourself. I believe you can rely on you to handle anything that happens in the days ahead. After all, look what you've been through in the past. You got through that. And I think that's really good proof you can trust yourself now. I believe you're strong, smart, and capable enough to change your life in an instant. In this instant. Now, you don't have to clean your entire apartment or home today, but you can tackle a drawer or get rid of a few duplicate files. Or maybe you could think about letting go of that idea that you're not okay, because you are okay. You are just fine the way you are. And letting go of some of this old stuff will allow you to see that more clearly. Letting go of the clutter will bring new light and energy and a clearer vision of yourself into your life. And let me say, my fellow anxious friends, as you take steps, even small steps, to let go of your clutter, okay, you're probably going to feel some fear. That's okay. Part of life, perfectly normal to feel afraid. The trick is to not let it stop you, to talk yourself through it. The moment you start feeling that fear, remind yourself of how strong you are. Remind yourself that you deserve a wonderful, clutter-free life. Tell yourself you can do it until you believe it as much as I do. You can do this. So now the question is, how the heck do I get started? Let's begin by tackling the physical clutter first. This is what I do. You do what works for you. Also, I do this alone, but a lot of people have told me it's much easier for them and things go much more smoothly if they get someone to help them, someone who likes to get rid of stuff. Anyway, whatever works for you, go ahead. Pick a drawer, pick a closet, pick a room, maybe a bathroom because there's less stuff in the bathroom. Now, what I do is I get 4 bags or boxes for sorting. The first bag is for trash. This is stuff you don't want, no one else wants. This is just junk. And what I usually do as my first step is I take this bag and I go through the clutter and I throw out anything that is really trash. Easy peasy. And the great thing about starting with this is things start to look better right away. The second bag is for stuff that you don't want or need any longer, but it still has value for someone else. This is a bag for stuff you want to sell or donate. Third bag is for stuff you're keeping, but it doesn't have a place yet. So as you're sorting things out, when you come to something that's important enough to keep, but you don't know where to put it, don't put it back down. Put it in this bag until you find a home for it. The fourth bag, a great idea from Jean Alpert. Love this idea. I haven't done it, but going to. The fourth bag is the 6-month bag. You put things in here, or box, you put everything in this bag or box, close it up, put it away for 6 months. If you have not thought about this thing or used it in 6 months, you don't need it, out it goes. All right, four bags or boxes. Now you have a plan for getting started. As you go through the process, here are some questions you can ask to help you make your decisions about whether you should keep it or let it go. First of all, is it usable? Does it have all its parts? Has it expired? Was the expiration date sometime in the last century? I just found something from 1997. Let it go. If it's still in one piece and it's still, you can use it, when did you use it last? Have you used it, in the last 6 months? Or are you keeping it? Are you keeping it because you might need it? If you aren't using it, all right, the next question is, do you have more than one? If you've got 2, let it go. Is it easily replaced? If you let your salad spinner go, could you afford to buy another one? If so, let it go. Now, are you keeping it, be honest, are you keeping it because you spent good money on it? How would it feel to imagine someone else using it and getting joy from it instead of just keeping it in the back of your closet? The next one is, do you really like it? I mean, if you don't like it, why keep looking at it? And if you can write your name in the dust on this object, let it go. Is there some way you could hold on to the memory of this without keeping it? Could you keep one of your children's, school project? Could you take a picture of it? Now, I've heard of creative people who will put together collages or quilts of clothes, their baby clothes or things the ticket stubs from concerts. Be creative, because letting all that stuff go, And doing something like this means you don't have to let the memory go. And finally, how great would your life be with all this stuff? All right, so you've got your bags, your boxes, your questions. All you have to do, sort through the things, pick things up, and either put them back where they go or put them in a bag. Everything has to have its place. And for goodness sake, get rid of the giveaways as soon as possible, because some of us might go back and take them back out of the bag. I see some smiling. Anyway, all right, that's physical clutter. And let me say, I think a similar process and some questions like that work great for digital clutter without doing the bags, of course. Begin by getting rid of the stuff you just don't need anymore. Then go back through all that information. Ask yourself, can I find this information somewhere else? If you can, let it go. Do I have more than one copy? If you've got 3 copies, let it go. Do I really, really read that newsletter? Or is it time to press unsubscribe? Am I friends, or do I even know some of these connections on social media? Maybe unfriend, unfollow, spend some time cleaning out. Am I using these apps, or am I holding on to them because I paid money, or I might use them in the future? Finally, how can I simplify, maybe combine things, or rethink the organization here? I know digital clutter isn't as evident as the physical clutter in your closet, but it's there nonetheless, and it can have the same kind of impact on your life. So definitely worth the time to clear things out. All right, on to mental clutter. The feeling you have when you open your eyes in the morning and think, oh, how am I going to get through it all today? Here are some questions you can ask to sort of help you deal with that feeling of being overwhelmed. First of all, do I really have to do this chore or job? Really? Is there someone else who could do it for me? Could I call in a favor? Could I pay someone? What if you just didn't have to do it today? Is there a part of it you could do today and leave the rest for later? If you have to do it, is there an easier way? Could you break it down into steps? Could you just, tackle it a little bit at a time? All right, now here it comes. What if you just didn't do it at all? What would happen? Would the world end? And if the answer is yes, okay, pick the 3 most important things you have to get done right now and put them right at the top of your list. Now, immediately go tackle them, but leave everything else for later. Just those 3 things. I've been surprised at how many things that I've let go that sort of ended up taking care of themselves. All right. Now, coming to emotional clutter, this is the most complex of all of the clutter. And letting go of this is definitely a long-term, complicated process. But that doesn't mean we can't start right now in this moment. And here are 4 things you can do right now. Number 1, a great way to start releasing emotional clutter is to begin a feelings journal. And this is not about what I did today. It's about how I feel. It's about telling yourself the truth about what's going on with you emotionally, the real truth, not the thing you pretend. This is about getting to know what's really going on in your heart. And getting in touch with those emotions can give you a really good understanding of what's going on. And that can be a big step in starting to let go of these beliefs and ideas and self-talk that are really no longer serving you. The second thing you can do is a visualization to release that emotion. And there are, lots of them you can do. I just want to do one very briefly right now. Let's do this together. Take a deep breath in and relax. Now picture where in your body you are feeling your most difficult emotion, your anger, your fear, your shame, your sadness, whatever that is. Feel it in your body, your shoulders, your belly, your throat, wherever it is. Now, put your hand over that part of your body and feel the warmth of your hand flowing all the way into your body and deep into the emotion, that feeling, that darkness. Feel it just dissolve that emotion, slowly melting it away until it's nothing. And then imagine that emotion just flowing from your body. Doing it once can be effective, but you know what? You can do this as often as you'd like throughout the day. The more you do it, the easier and more effective. And I think you'll start to feel a difference emotionally. Number 3, you're just going to toss out all the old stories that you've been telling yourself about you. I think they're untrue, but anyway, these are the stories that where you tell yourself, oh, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, and I'm broken somehow. Well, like a book you're done with, just throw away those old stories and start replacing them with what we both know is the truth about you. You are strong, you are kind, and you are good. And that's the story you need to tell yourself. Finally, number 4, just imagine how you would feel if you were able to let go of that anger, if you forgave that unforgivable thing that happened to you. Just imagine the freedom, the lightness you might feel. Just start to wonder what your life might look like without this weight of emotion. And just as an aside, if you're interested in learning more about forgiveness, please go listen to my podcast, The Wand of Forgiveness, because if that unable to forgive is weighing you down, it's time to let go. I know how difficult letting go stuff can be for those of us with anxiety, but I promise you it's worth the effort. Cleaning out the clutter can help you move on from some of that old pain, the trauma, the guilt, and the sadness of your past. It's been my experience when you get organized, you find all sorts of gems and things you had forgotten you even have. So it opens that part of your life back up. You can earn money or save money. This is for my mom, by selling things you no longer need. And you can save money for yourself by not buying 2 of something and then finding the thing that you had lost and then it turns up. A clean environment helps you feel better, helps you focus more fully. And finally, cleaning out that clutter creates an ability in your life to see things differently. It opens doors to new possibilities. And finally, and most importantly, it brings a sense of peace and calm and order in your life. And that's what we're here about, finding that peaceful place in your life. I am so glad you joined me today. If you'd like to be a part of the Anxiety Connection, please subscribe. And if you'd like to get your copy of my very, very almost out book, Common Sense, A Woman's Guide to Living Anxiety Free, please go to my website, wendyleeds.com, and put your name on the wait list. And if you're listening to this podcast and the book is out, good for you. Go. You can be reading it right away. So until we're together again, I wish you peace, joy, and love.